Hello, welcome to your Hollywood crime scene main. Wait, I fucked up the intro.
Hi,
This is the main episode.
yes. What do we say? I'm
Hi,
completely
welcome
blanking.
to Hollywood crime scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
I'm Desi Jedeikin. We had so much fun discussing the movie turd Battlefield Earth last time. We thought we'd make June a month full of behind the scenes on more disastrous movies. And today we're going to talk about a bad movie that I actually liked when I was younger and I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know if I still like it. And that is Popeye, directed by Robert Altman and starring Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall as Popeye the Sailor Man and Olive Oil. This is based on E.C. Segar's Popeye comics character, and obviously there was a pretty popular cartoon that I used to watch as a kid as well. Did you watch the Popeye cartoons?
Yes, I did.
They were on all the time, basically.
Yeah.
So, love me some Wimpy. That was one of my favorite characters.
Is he the cheeseburger?
He's the one who wants a hamburger all the time.
Yeah.
And he says, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger.
Yeah, I
today.
like him too then.
He always wants a hamburger. Popeye actually contains a memory for me, the cartoon that I've literally never forgotten. And I can't remember the context of it, but it's an episode where the sea hag has stopped a ship that has supplies on it. And it has like cans of spinach and it has cans of hamburgers.
Ew.
And at some point, Wimpy opens the can and eats the hamburgers out of the can. And they're like hamburgers with a bun.
Yeah.
And I've always, like, to this day, I still think about that can of hamburgers because I was like, what the hell? Like,
that's disgusting.
It's so weird. And it was so disturbing to me that there would be such a thing.
Because everyone was canning everything.
I know. It was so weird, though. I was like, ew.
But I will say that Popeye did so much for the spinach industry.
Seriously. I remember as a kid eating spinach and thinking my arms were going to burst.
Is that what every parent told their kids? That, because I feel like my mom said,
eat your spinach.
Eat your spinach because you'll be like Popeye.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
And I'm like, I don't want my forearms to look like that.
No way. So this movie actually didn't do terrible at the box office, but the reviews were shit for the most part. Although it's definitely been sort of elevated a bit over time. It's ultimately thought of as a pretty infamous like Hollywood blunder. Like it's considered that. So let's dive in. My book is the same you used before, Fiasco: A History of Hollywood's Iconic Flops by James Robert Parrish. I also found a bunch of interviews and quotes online and various articles. Okay, so how did we get here? Well, funnily enough, Popeye might have never happened if Paramount Pictures won the bidding war for the film adaptation rights of the hit Broadway musical Annie. This all starts in 1977. After Robert Evans left the theater after a performance of Annie, he was on cloud nine, completely inspired. Maybe tomorrow really hit him as he was struggling to find his next hit. He was looking for that next day. He immediately calls Barry Diller in LA and tells him they need to put a bid in to get the screen rights for Annie. But what he didn't realize was there was already an intense bidding war happening. Ultimately, it would be down to Columbia and Paramount, and when the acquisition price rose to $10 million, Evans and Diller dropped out of the battle. Paramount lost this war. Now, that isn't a really large amount of money because most films at this time were being made completely for 10 to 12.
Yeah.
So this is just
to get the rights.
Yeah. So historically, Paramount had not had much success in the musical game. And in fact, the genre as a whole was not exactly popular at the time, with the exception, obviously, of Paramount's 1978 movie Grease, which was a massive hit, but kind of thought of as a fluke. And Evans was really determined to prove everyone that Grease was not an anomaly, that he could bring the genre back big time while also proving he still had it after his last pick had bombed. So he wanted to restore his elite Hollywood luster, especially with up-and-comers at Paramount like Don Simpson breathing down his neck.
listen
check
to
out
our
that
listen to our episode on Don Simpson.
He immediately held an executive meeting with Paramount's execs at the time, a real murderer's row of Hollywood elite, Barry Diller, Michael Eisner, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. So he asked about comic strip characters to which the studio already held the rights and which could be used to create a movie musical. One attendee, who I guess wants to remain anonymous for obvious reasons, said Popeye.
Is this, are they trying to get comic strip rights because Annie was based on a comic strip?
Yes. They're like, what other comic strips can we turn into a musical?
So they're like not even going to look for an existing musical already.
Nope.
They're just going to make their own because Annie was such a success.
Yes.
Well,
yeah. So at the time, King Feature Syndicate had the television rights to Popeye and the characters. They had recently launched the all-new Popeye Hour, but Paramount had long held the theatrical rights to Popeye due to the studio producing the original Popeye shorts that were shown before movies back in the day. In addition to Annie, Evans used the success of 1978's Superman as a comp, showing comic adaptations were big money. And with the addition of song and dance, how could they lose?
Now, I'd like to see a Superman musical.
I'd like to see almost anything made into a musical.
Same.
I would watch it. The weirder, the better.
Yeah.
So honestly, in a way, he was right because obviously today, comic, book or strip adaptations are pretty much the biggest genre in movies right now. The movie got the green light, and Robert Evans promised to be a hands-on producer. This film was going to be his baby. So the first order of business for him was casting his leading man, and he had to look no further than his friend group, which composed all of the 1970s biggest actors. Evans described having a flash of inspiration when it came to casting Popeye, 5'6" serious actor Dustin Hoffman.
Okay, that would have been hilarious.
No, according to Evans, he was ideal to play the Sailor Man.
No, he's not at all, but it would have been awesome.
So Hoffman enthusiastically accepted. Putting his method acting chops into full gear, he immediately began figuring out ways to turn the cartoon into a flesh and blood real-life person. He was also excited to take a little vacation from his heavy dramatic roles and finally prove himself as a song and dance man. He began taking singing and dance lessons. Paramount was getting nervous, though. The projected budget had already reached $11 million, which is about $3 million more than a typical studio feature at that time. But Robert dismissed the worries and continued plowing along. Jules Feiffer, who wrote the brilliant Carnal Knowledge screenplay, was signed on to write the script after Evans agreed to his terms. His terms were that the script must be faithful to E.C. Segar's original strips, not the animated shorts, and Robert agreed to that as long as Pfeiffer stuck to Popeye's unique qualities, his devotion to individuality, his I am what I am and that's all that I am philosophy had to be the driving force of the script.
Wait, that's not that deep.
I agree. But Robert I think he was going through it. So he's like, yes.
This is 1970s Bob Evans.
Yeah.
He's absolutely going through it. And by through it, I mean a kilo of cocaine.
Yes. So he found this philosophy very relatable. And he's like, this is the key to the movie's success. And Pfeiffer's like, fine. Like,
I am what I am. A coke addict.
I got it. So Hoffman was really throwing himself into the role, and he wanted to meet with Jules to review the script and talk character. But this quickly took a turn for the worse. According to Jules, Hoffman kept me waiting 2 whole days. By the time the little fuck gave me an audience, I was drunk.
The little fuck?
Yeah. When the conference finally occurred, the two clashed really badly. They had completely different visions of what the character would be. They were both really stubborn, holding firm in what they wanted the script to look like. And Dustin finally goes up to Bob Evans and is like, it's either me or him. Now, traditionally, the Hollywood producer would side with the lead actor because that's the box office, but he did not do that. He sided with Pfeiffer on the script issue, and Hoffman dropped out of the movie, and they didn't speak to each other for a very long time after this happened. So this would have been the perfect opportunity for Paramount to maybe bail on the project, which already seemed headed for trouble. But Evans was pretty sure they didn't need a big name or a proven box office star to pull people in because it's Popeye. Like, that's the draw.
Is it?
Popeye's the star.
I mean, I know we all know Popeye.
Yeah.
But it's not like...
I mean, I can't believe this ever past like just an idea.
I just feel like this is a story that only works in cartoon form.
I agree.
Because like part of the whole deal is how weird this guy looks. Like you're going to either have to do like a gritty reboot where it's like a very grounded in reality looking man, like strong man.
Right.
Or you're going to do what they did do, which is try and bring a cartoon to life in a very comical way.
Yeah.
And it looks stupid.
I do think Robert, Altman was trying to do more gritty realness, but he had to keep those elements probably from the studio, and it just didn't work. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I think he was trying to make it more gritty and real, and it just combined with the comic book elements was bad. Like, so in some meeting, he actually points at a Newsweek magazine cover that's lying around. He's like, even a guy like him could do the job. That guy was rising comedian Robin Williams, who actually worked for Paramount starring in the hit show Mork and Mindy. Now, he is a big TV star at this time. Like, he just had burst on the scene in this show that was like a surprise hit. So everyone knows him. He's not like a no-name necessarily, but he hadn't done movies at this point. So he's not like a box office star or anything like that. Like he has no proof he can draw a crowd to a movie. He was desperate, however, to break out of the TV grind. And in April of 1979, it's announced that 27-year-old Robin Williams will star as Popeye. Now, Robin was famous for his rapid-fire delivery and his stand-up, his extremely high-energy persona, which has definitely taken up a few notches with his use of stimulants. He famously said cocaine was God's way of telling you that you're making too much money. And although this isn't really an issue at this point, it will be. But we're talking about the company that put Don Simpson in a position of power. So cocaine is not exactly a deal breaker in the 70s. We're still going strong. So we have Popeye. What about olive oil? The top contender for olive oil was initially Lily Tomlin. When she became unavailable, Paramount wanted Gilda Radner, but there was a faction at the studio that found her, quote, too Jewish.
Come on.
So as far as directors go, they initially want Hal Ashby. He's set to helm the project, but drops out after Dustin Hoffman leaves. So the production is delayed. Several other people are mentioned, but then an unlikely auteur becomes of interest to production. That's Robert Altman. Now, based on his previous work, this is an insane pairing, right? Like he does not do this type of music, but Altman and Evans have like a little bit of history. So let's go back to this. Back in New York at Elaine's once, the producer Robert Evans had stopped to chat with Robert Altman. Altman was in great pain. He had severe back problems, and Evans suggested a physician who worked wonders with him. When they met again at Elaine's, Altman was very grateful. He expressed his appreciation, and later that evening, Robert Evans sent a note over to him saying, "You owe me a picture." The director scratched over that and said, "I owe you my life." So Robert Evans was like, he owes me.
Yeah.
He's got to do it. And Altman agrees, and he is hired. He works with Jules Pfeiffer on the script, turning it into a very uncartoon-like story about a young man searching for his long-lost father, finding love, and becoming an adoptive parent. Altman saw the film as showing a microcosm of an oppressed society, but they were still looking for their female lead. At this point, Radner's manager, Bernie Brillstein, wasn't that keen on the role, and he was like, don't do it. He was concerned about the script. He was worried about her working for months on end on an isolated set with Robert Evans and Robert Altman, both who had a reputation for erratic behavior and unorthodox methods. So the search continued. Now, while Robin Williams is getting jacked for his role, Altman, he's set on finding his olive oil. He had to look no further than his roster of actors that he always used, Shelley Duvall. And I think we can all agree that no one in the history of the world was more perfectly cast based just on looks than Shelley Duvall as olive oil.
I agree.
Like, it is an insanely great choice.
They nailed it with this.
But Paramount didn't want her. They didn't care for her unconventional looks. But Evans at this point was very busy and focused on Urban Cowboy, another movie he's working on, and he kind of hands the reins over to Robert Altman, who immediately hires Shelley, as well as casting Paul L. Smith as Bluto, Ray Walston as Poop Deck Pappy, and he cast his own grandson as Sweet Pea, a very cute baby.
Yeah.
Now, this was a musical, so we also needed a songwriter. Initial thoughts were John Lennon, Paul McCartney.
John Lennon?
I know. Randy Newman, of course, in the mix, always. But Altman wanted a more interesting type of songwriter, and he went with Harry Nilsson, who obviously wrote the Midnight Cowboy theme song.
Harry Nilsson did the music in this?
Yes. And Lime and the Coconut.
Well.
So genius songwriter, I think. I like Harry Nilsson.
I'm friends with his son.
Well, he's the guy. He did the music for
How
Popeye.
How did I not know this?
I don't know.
I've never seen Popeye.
Oh, you have to see it. I think you'll like it. So Altman recalls years later about hiring Nilsson. Nobody wanted him at first except for Robin Williams. Everyone said, you'll get in trouble with him. He'll get drunk. He won't do it. He's washed up. Now, as a matter of fact, I said all those things about Harry to Robin myself one day. Then I went home and thought about it, and I said, Jesus, that's what people say about me. So then he basically hired Harry Nilsson just because of that. Like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong and take a chance on me, basically. But they did get along great. So next up, they're deciding on the location. And Altman is not a fan of sound stages. If you've seen his movies, you know he's all about realism. The sets are very like wherever, or, you know, he films where the movie takes place, usually on location. So they decide that they're going to film this in Malta.
Malta?
Now, Malta is 3 islands south of Sicily. They have a little hesitation because in the winter, when they're going to film this, Malta is known for having some mild rainy weather, but they're like, it'll probably be fine. Obviously, we'll get back to this later in this episode. Another bonus about filming in Malta, other things had been filmed there, so they had a large water tank facility for shooting any water-related scenes. And the set building began in September of 1979. Now, this is a pretty cool set. It's like a little seaside fishing village, Sweet Haven. All of the buildings are kind of off kilter. They used already half-submerged vessels that were in the water and turned those into sets like a casino and other type of things. But red flags were being raised almost immediately. One producer very quickly was like, this is looking a little bleak. It's super depressing set. It's almost sinister. Not the vibrant and fun vision of the Popeye that the studio was hoping for.
It's looking like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yes. It became a bit of a showdown between 2 on-set producers, Eggenweiler and Scott Bushnell. That's not his real name. That's
the man's name is Eggs?
That's his nickname.
Well, what's his real name?
Eggenweiler. I didn't write it down. I don't know.
Eggs.
John Eggenweiler. Bushnell liked the bleak set and Altman agreed. Now, because Robert Evans was so urban cowboy obsessed at this point, the Popeye team were kind of left to just figure things out. So they're like, we like it. Looks good. Now, principal photography begins on January 23rd, 1980. And according to Robin Williams in a later interview, when I was training for Popeye, I thought, this is it. This is my Superman, and it's going to go through the fucking roof. I also had the dream of getting up and thanking the Academy, but I got beyond the this is it stage as soon as we started shooting. After the first day on Popeye, I thought, well, maybe this isn't it. And I finally wound up going, oh God, when is this going to be over? We'll get into the whys after the break.
World Cup 2026 tại Dafabet. Hoàng Tiền Cực thắng 100% tới 1.250.000 Việt Nam đồng. Thưởng chào mừng 110% tới 6.888.000 Việt Nam đồng. Đăng ký và bắt đầu chơi ngay.
So from the moment shooting starts, the pressure was on, especially for Robert Altman, who felt like his career was on the line with such a high-profile project. So a lot of issues are just content related. Like, yes, this is a comic-based movie, but unlike Superman, it's not sci-fi or daring do action. Like, It's kind of a drama. Like I mentioned earlier, a man looking for his long-lost father. It's a romance. It's a musical. And he kind of wants to tone down the more fantastical elements and make it kind of more gritty and real.
Well, it doesn't look very real.
No.
From the clips I've seen.
Well, there are elements of it, but the fact that they made Popeye's arms, like in the cartoon, that's just not real.
Well,
although it looks like those pictures when people Photoshop their muscles and they're like, dude, you're Photoshopped. Like it has that kind of look.
But like, yeah, that's what I mean is like you have to go all the way if you're going to do realism because Popeye's arms are like the most comical part about him.
Yes.
Like it's one of the most defining features that makes him ridiculous looking.
There's a lot of elements. I agree. Like I see where Robert Altman was going, but there's more cartoon elements that are kept beyond the arms, like the dialogue. Like, for instance, this line from him when he finds the baby, came looking for my papa. Now I'm a mudder. And it's literally written in the dialect, like mudder. Like, so Robin Williams has to say things that way.
I know. I've seen clips of it and his like squinty eye, he looks ridiculous.
Yeah. So like, I agree like with what you're saying, but if you see the whole movie, you will see he is trying to make it real, but it just doesn't work because it's half and half. It's like pick one.
Yeah, you got to pick one.
So adding to the trouble is Disney had come on board the production, so now it had to be really PG. So Altman was constantly on the lookout for anything that might be too bawdy. Like,
wait a minute, were they gonna like make him fuck
I don't know, but it's more than just that. Like at some point Popeye jumps into the water and says, oh shit, and Altman accidentally didn't notice that, and then when the footage went back to Disney they were like, what the fuck, they were pissed. So he had to make sure not even any like a dam or a hell, like it was beyond just fucking.
Well, that's boring.
Yes.
Like so, if you want to bring Popeye into like the modern era, it like that is a man who
curses,
looks like he has a dirty mouth.
I mean, curse like a sailor.
Yeah,
right?
He's a sailor man.
Also, like, it's like, is it a kid's movie? Because why is Robert Altman directing it? Period.
Yeah.
So obviously that's really annoying. Robert Altman had an unconventional way of running a production. And he really liked making a community amongst his cast and crew. So he loved everyone being isolated in Malta together. But Robin Williams did not really like it because he had brought his new wife along. And she basically spent most of the time monitoring his behavior, making sure he wasn't fucking other women, which he had a habit of doing. So he was kind of like, I'm stuck here with this, hag, whatever, bugging me.
Right.
And like, I want to be free because, he's a drug addict at this time. Tensions rose further when Jules Pfeiffer arrived in Malta. This led to explosive fights between the two former allies, Robert Altman and Jules. A lot of this is over the fact that Jules was making this dialogue really short and clipped like in the comic, which Altman found confusing, and he thought that the audience would miss key plot points. Jules became alarmed when he heard the songs Harry Nilsson had composed, and he was like, this is not just an issue with the music for him. He also was disturbed because Robert Altman insisted on shooting the singing live.
What?
Which led to a lot of sound issues and distortion on the soundtrack. This is like famously very difficult to do. Most people lip sync on a movie musical. Like they might sing it in real life for the recording, but they're not singing it live on set. And these are all actors who are not professional singers or Broadway performers.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to do.
So, and this is not on a soundstage either. This is like out
They're
in
in Malta.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't just Jules. More and more people were beginning to question why this was a musical in the first place. They thought the music was boring.
Because they liked the Popeye theme song so much.
Yeah.
That they're like, let's just keep it going.
Well, that ends up being the only song people like.
Oh
like,
my
we
God.
like the one where everyone's singing the Popeye theme song. Like that.
Wait, does the whole cast sing the theme?
Yeah, it's like a cast number.
Well, that shouldn't be sung by the cast. That should be sung by like a narrator.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Because Popeye does he sing that in the cartoon?
I think he does.
Oh.
Yeah, because he sings it. Yeah, he sings it.
Well, then only Popeye should get to sing it.
Right. So I actually do like the music. I love He Needs Me, which is sung by Olive Oil. I think when Shelley Duvall, I posted it because I do love that moment
When Shelley
so much.
Duvall?
when she passed away.
When she passed.
Yeah, I posted the clip of her singing this, and I kind of also am a fan of people who aren't necessarily trained singers singing. Like, if they're a good actor, I like that. So I do like the music from Popeye. She also has a song called He's Large about Bruto that I liked as a kid. I thought it was really funny because she likes this guy because he's big. So they also didn't really like the choreography. The actors were instructed to perform stiffly like they were cartoons, so it just looks really weird.
They don't know what movie they're trying to make. This is the problem. This is the problem.
Exactly. So Robin at some point wants to throw Shelley Duvall around like a brute, which he felt was in character, but they were like, no, we can't do anything interesting.
Because it's Disney.
Now, this is my opportunity to tell my favorite Popeye story when I saw some old Popeye comics one time, which is what this movie is based on. In the strip, Olive Oyl wants to see if Popeye is jealous, like if he really loves her. So she dresses as a man and goes to her own door with flowers, pretending to be a suitor. And Popeye sees her as a man and beats the shit out of her.
Okay, that's fucked up.
And then she, like, the mustache falls off of her and she's sitting there with like the birds floating around her head. And she's like, he loves me. Sorry. I was just like, this is fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how sick it was. And it was sold like as a cute moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, so word started getting back to the States, forcing Robert Evans to leave Urban Cowboy and get more involved. Now we're going to get back into Robin Williams and his famous improvisation style. That was pissing people off. Robert Evans and Altman really were like, we need both of us to rein him in.
Don't hire Robin Williams.
I know.
If you don't want crazy improv.
Yes. So that kind of obviously put a damper on him because he's like, fuck, that's what I do. He also had a lot of issues playing Popeye, like physical issues. As you mentioned, he had to work with one eye squinted shut.
This was not a prosthetic. He was just like squinting his eye shut the whole time.
Yeah.
That must have been annoying.
He also had to mumble out of the side of his mouth while firmly clenching a corncob pipe in his teeth, which is very difficult to do. And Popeye also speaks in kind of fractured English, which made things even more difficult to understand. And Robin had to basically redub almost all of his dialogue in post-production because it was too hard for the audiences to understand. He said later that he sounded like a killer whale farting in a wind tunnel.
That's not good.
No. Now, there were more hitches with some of the special effects, namely his big oversized forearms. Now, the original set of these arms wrapped around their kind of like inflated muscles. They didn't function properly and they didn't look credible. I guess.
What'd they use?
Well, they had new ones built in Italy. That was a lot of money. And for a month, Robert Altman had to shoot around Robin Williams whenever his forearms would be visible. So that's like causing huge delays. When they finally get these new rubber and plastic arms, he discovers that not only are they restricting his arm movement, but they almost completely cut off his circulation.
At what point did they just say this was a bad idea? We should just cut our losses.
Well, I'll tell you, they never say that.
Well, they should have.
As a result of these artificial muscles, he could only film for a short period of time before his arms went completely numb. Then they had to stop shooting, let him take them off, get the blood flowing again. So this is very painful and time-consuming ordeal for him. As if those delays weren't enough, it began to rain a lot. It was not a mild, rainy winter. This is when the cast and crew basically got island fever and the booze and coke really began flowing. So former Paramount CEO Barry Diller called Popeye the most coked up film set he'd ever seen.
Well, that's not very Disney, is it?
That's saying a lot during this time period. He said that cocaine was heavily used on set, you couldn't escape it, and the drug was so vital to the production that the cast and crew were having it shipped from Los Angeles in film canisters to Malta.
They had to get it from LA? They couldn't get it from anywhere else?
Well, they got it from LA, and Robert Altman had hired all these musicians to play music live. And
they needed it.
They were also getting drugs, according to Eric Idle in the Middle East, and they were bringing it back too. So this just was a huge party and people were trying to survive the misery on the set.
I mean, you kind of need cocaine to finish a movie like this.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great ideas when you're on coke.
Well, one of the other obstacles with this, those arms, is that they were a nightmare to remove if Robin Williams sweated in them. And he's already a sweaty guy, but with the cocaine, he was even more sweaty.
Yeah.
So it was like a nightmare.
So what, did someone just have to like pull him off?
I don't know.
Like,
I'm
pop
guessing
them
it's kind
off?
of like when people wear those rubber dresses.
Oh,
And you
latex?
have to have, like you have to have like baby powder and like whatever.
Yeah, you get lubed up.
Yeah. So I don't know what they were
I just
doing.
imagine like the suction pop when they finally pop him off.
Yes. He was also so fed up with things and like all the delays and being stuck. He would go to local bars and get wasted and perform stand-up. So he'd be out all night just fucking getting fucked up. Diller added that the influence of drugs are apparent in the final cut of the film. He described as playing like a vinyl record at an unnaturally fast speed. He said, think of record speeds. If 33 RPM is the standard speed for playing an LP on a record player, this movie runs at a 78 RPM. The film's orchestrator, Van Dyke Parks, he said that he talked about the cocaine use on the set as well. He said, I was the hero of the regiment for one day opening up a walkie-talkie to change the battery and finding a bag of cocaine inside. I don't remember how much there was or who I gave it to, but I remember that I recoiled because I knew that it would be a component in the way people behaved that day, and the difficulties of the production were starting right at the top. Now, that includes Robert Evans. As you mentioned, he liked cocaine too. Now, at this point, he had started flying back and forth from LA to Malta, which is a huge flight to be constantly taking. At some point, his baggage got mislaid en route. He was in a super big panic to find this luggage because it was loaded with drugs and other items he was sneaking into Malta for the Popeye cast and crew. Also for himself, probably. Now, obviously, if the contents became known to Malta, it would create great embarrassment for this family Disney project and would damage, his relationship with Paramount. Emergency calls were placed to Washington, D.C., where former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger helped solve the problem of the missing bags.
This is crazy.
Located them and delivered them to a frenzied Robert Evans in Malta. Now, a short time later, in May of 1980, Robert Evans gets implicated in a federal drug bust involving his brother and another guy. This is obviously another huge, humiliating, career-shattering moment for him. He talks about this in his memoir. He chose not to get help from Sidney Korshak, who was a famous mob lawyer, and he eventually, while Popeye is in post-production, he pleads guilty in court to a misdemeanor charge of cocaine possession, and he is given a year's probation and required to do a public service anti-drug message.
He didn't stop doing drugs after that.
No.
Because then he made the Cotton Club.
Well,
and we all know how that went.
He did not stop doing drugs. And in an interview in 1994, he said, Bob Cocaine Evans is how I'll be known on my grave. So pretty funny. So let's get to the final disaster filming sequence. This is the big ending, this fight with the octopus. So anytime you bring in a mechanical sea creature or anything mechanical in water, you're going to have fucking issues.
There's an octopus? Is it
yes.
an octopus?
This is the big finale. I didn't know you hadn't seen Popeye. You should definitely watch it because it's so crazy.
Wait, well, what happened to isn't Bluto his rival?
Yes. Bluto is his rival throughout the movie because that's Olive Oil's girlfriend. But then something happens at the end with this huge octopus and everyone's kind of involved. And I don't really remember
we
exactly.
have to stop it.
So this is sort of the big set piece of Popeye. It's the action part. It's designed to be this climactic battle with Popeye, Olive Oil, Bluto is there.
What about the hamburger guy? Is Wimpy in the movie?
Yeah, he isn't in the movie. There's not a lot of famous actors. Like Ray Winston is sort of well known. He plays Poop Deck. But everyone else I don't really know.
They included Poop Deck, but not Wimpy?
I think Wimpy's there, but I don't think he has a major role. Wimpy is definitely there.
Okay.
But I don't remember him in the movie as being a big part. But this belligerent octopus has a big part. Now, obviously this as everything else in this movie, this also is going down in a really bad way, this whole set piece. No one could get the mechanical sea animal to function in a usable manner. So as a result, he's kind of relying on his performers to kind of grab the creature and pretend they're in battle.
It's kind of like Ben Stiller in There's Something About Mary, where he is wrestling with the stuffed animal.
Yes.
And pretending he's being attacked by the dog.
Now, I remember, I really should watch this again, because I do remember being scared as a kid during this part.
What?
Because it kind of comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. Like, that's my memory, and being, like, scared, because it's kind of really dark. That's my memory of it. Now, so that's crazy. And I do want to watch this now to know that she's kind of doing it to herself, basically.
Shelley Duvall.
So we're just like, this movie, everyone's fed up. The budget is skyrocketed. It's like over $20 million at this point. And Paramount basically is like, just get back here. We'll just, whatever we have, we'll just do the best we can with it. They're like done. So everyone finally leaves Malta after 6 months, after 20.
6 months?
6 months, 20
this took
plus
6
million.
months to film?
Yes. That's why people were going crazy.
That is insane.
And a lot of delays, and where they're just sitting there doing nothing except for cocaine. Like, that's basically whatever.
I mean, you could be worse places than Malta.
It is beautiful, but there's not much going on there.
It's true.
And I don't think they were really leaving. Like, I think at some point Jules Pfeiffer left because he's just the screenwriter. He didn't really have to stay. So filming officially wraps on June 19th, 1980, 3 weeks over schedule. So the film, as I mentioned, when it comes out, is critically panned. It is a surprising box office success. It grosses $60 million. And that is largely due to it catching on with children. Like, adults are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But kids like it. Two critics who kind of broke away from the pack of these bad reviews were Siskel and Ebert, who both gave Popeye thumbs up.
Wow.
And Roger Ebert even said it was sophisticated entertainment.
Sophisticated.
Now, despite all of this critical disapproval, it is considered a favorite film to many people working today, including Paul Thomas Anderson. He counts it as one of his favorite movies and used If He Needs Me in Punch Drunk Love.
It's because it's all these like older Gen X people who probably have fond memories of this movie.
Yes.
Right? Because I also think that could be said for millennials. Like, Hook was critically panned, but every millennial I know fucking loves Hook.
Right.
So there are a lot of children's movies out there like that, and it doesn't sound like this was intentional on the part of the Popeye filmmakers, but this seems like another example of that, where it's like, no, this actually did end up appealing to children.
And I think it's definitely like a certain type of child too, like me, who liked a darker kid thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, probably Hook has a little darkness to it as
well.
Yeah,
there's lots of darkness in it. And yeah, I mean, there's so many movies like that I'm sure we can both cite from our childhoods where they were flops. They're considered flops, but we consider them iconic.
Right, like Return to Oz, is a great example. I also think that it is like an interesting film. So I'm not surprised that people who are very into filmmaking and the art of it would be like, there's some things here that are working, right?
Or visually,
yes.
It's interesting.
So obviously, this did not do great things for Robert Evans or Robert Altman. They kind of took the brunt of the criticism. Robert Evans leaves Popeye immediately to go onto the production of The Cotton Club.
Well, that's we know how that ended.
We did a huge series on that. That is a real fiasco, and that almost finished him in the industry.
Well, there was a murder.
Well, that too, but just the movie alone was a disaster.
Yes.
The movie set. So he does obviously, has I guess a comeback, mostly based on his persona and history in Hollywood. Looking back on Popeye, he says, the picture got an odor because it wasn't Superman, and that's what they were looking for. He then adds that the real problem was it shouldn't have been a musical. If it were made not as a musical, it could have been very successful, but because of Annie, it just went down that road. Shelley Duvall went straight onto the set of The Shining, which obviously I want to do an episode at some point because that's a great movie and it's not a disaster, but it had a very crazy filming. The time filming was wild. So obviously Robin Williams eventually does find real movie success with Good Morning Vietnam, but he does say what he would never do in an interview is direct. He said that it would be very difficult for me to say to someone, I'm sorry, that wasn't very good, and then have them go, well, what about Popeye? So he didn't want to give them that opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, despite this unspectacular artistic and commercial results of Popeye, the decades-old film production is still leaving a legacy. In Malta, the abandoned Sweetwater village sets still are there. The wooden buildings from Popeye have become a tourist attraction that draws thousands of visitors yearly. You can walk around the film sets and hear the soundtrack blaring like some kind of like Disneyland like attraction. And you can stop at a nearby restaurant to sample Wimpy's best burgers with a bowl of spinach soup. Now, I want to go to this.
I'm interested in seeing this.
I've never thought of going to Malta, but now I'm like, okay, I'm interested.
I've thought of going to Malta, and now I really want to go to Malta.
I agree. I think that sounds really fun.
How's the burger, though?
Probably not. I don't know.
How's a Maltese
Malta
burger?
is not Italy. It's like
Malta's
its
not
own
Italy.
thing.
It is its
so
own
I don't
country.
know like what its food is or like what. I don't really
I'm
know
sure
much
there's
about
some
it.
Mediterranean influences.
Yes, of course. Yeah, probably.
I have no idea. I really don't know much about the culture in Malta.
I don't either.
I know it's a vacation destination, and I know geographically where it's located, and I've seen pictures, and it looks beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's for sure beautiful. So, yeah, that's the story of Popeye.
Wow, Desi. Well, I'm glad that this movie holds such a special place in the hearts of people who saw it and loved it when they were kids, because those movies are important.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just used to be on a lot, too. Kind of like Hook was probably on a lot at some point. Was it a cable movie? Not really.
I remember renting it a lot.
Okay.
I saw it in the theaters when it came out, but I remember... maybe it was on. I don't remember. I don't remember, but I definitely saw it like 100 times when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite movies. But I also remember renting Return to Oz a million times too.
Yeah, renting was big.
Like there were certain movies I would just rent over and over.
I had seen Annie a bunch because it was playing on TV a lot.
Yes,
I watched about 100 times.
I watched that on TV all the time, Annie, and that is a great movie adaptation of a musical.
I agree. I love that movie. Like,
yeah.
The cast is like it's so good.
What about how they added in a new song, Let's Go to the Movies?
I like that segment.
I like that segment
I
too.
wanted her whole wardrobe.
Annie's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she gets that wardrobe, I was like, that's like instrumental to my aesthetic.
is Annie.
Annie's like little Mary Janes and white socks and her little dresses.
Yeah, very cute.
I remember that shopping spree.
Well, as a child who was a redhead, I'm sure it was very
oh yeah. I was like, why am I not Annie?
Yeah.
I was jealous for sure. I hated her. The actress. Why not me? Okay. I'll post some pictures on our Instagram and then we'll be back for more.
More movies?
Everything.
Oh, everything.
All our stuff.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
World Cup 2026 tại Dafabet. Hoàng tiền cược thắng 100% tới 1.250.000 Việt Nam đồng. Thưởng chào mừng 110% tới 6.888.000 Việt Nam đồng. Đăng ký và bắt đầu chơi ngay.